about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. Easy Blues, you're always better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us on the program, or whom do we have with us on the program today?
When we sit and talk about music, it's that sweet, sweet amazingness that brings us to the next level. It is that understanding of how the notes flow from point A to point B to point C, how the crowd is moved. If you have a TikTok, these people's TikTok will blow your mind. So I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't need any accidents. But mentally, put your hands together for the fantastic, the amazing, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious professors of sweet, sweet music. POSSM is in the building. Put your hands together. Welcome, Benvenue, and how are you?
Good.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's quite the introduction.
Thank you, thank you. We want to show you that we care, and you know, the way things rock and roll. But no, so for people who don't know, you guys are a band out of Hartford.
Correct.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys been together playing? And you know, what's the origin story?
Earl, you say this one all the time, so why don't you
got this?
Yeah. So, Ben and Craig, how long have you guys been in POSSM?
pre-pandemic at least? I don't know, right? A couple of years before that.
Yeah, definitely.
2018, 2019,
I think 2017 for me.
17. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Around
the
two.
whole thing started, Preston, when I'm a high school teacher, and I had a former student of mine who brought in a guitar, and was like, "Look, I want to learn guitar." So he started teaching me guitar before he graduated high school.
Okay.
And so I played a show at like a school function together, and I just, when you lack sort of like self-awareness or any ability to feel shame, then like I should write songs and people should listen to them. And so I just started roping people in, and Tony Kuz, who was one of the original members, is now living in Indonesia off the grid, and so we've moved some people in. This formation of the band, I would say, is probably 2016 or something like that. Yeah. And the local bands don't tend to stay together for a long stretch of time, sort of do it like. So I think we feel fortunate for a variety of reasons to still have places to play, people come to shows, friendships with the people that we're still playing with. It's been pretty cool.
No, that's awesome, and I love that actual story where you started out as being the teacher, and you had one of your students teaching you guitar to get you to the point where you're like, now we're going to go out and take on the world,
right?
And it's really super. Well, it's important. Having those things to say is so super important, and not only that, but as you continue to evolve and as a band in different aspects, you're now pretty much partners with the Heartbeat Festival. What was that journey like, and what exactly for the people here in New Haven that haven't really ventured out that way, but will venture out that way this year? What is the Heartbeat Festival, and how did you guys become part of it?
Yeah. People in New Haven, get your butt out to Hartford this summer. June 14th. There's going to be a sexy group called Shane Penguin that's coming out. There's Trash and Violet's going to be there. We
Sweet Penguin.
Sweet Penguins. I heard a rumor that there's penguins that get thrown into the audience.
There are penguins that get thrown into the audience.
So I would like a penguin. I'm looking forward to that. We Ben and Craig and I were on here pre-pandemic. I guess I would say that we love to play music with lots of different groups, lots of different people, lots of different genres, right? I feel very fortunate to have met so many cool people through music. And so it's such a cool thing to have, some of our good musical friends be like hip hop artists or like heavy metal. Ben plays in another heavy metal band. So
nice.
It's just sort of music, right? So you get white people and black people, about everybody's sort of hanging out together, and we come from different places, but we have all this stuff in common, and that's sort of like a language that has brought us together. So pre-pandemic, we at first started playing these like first Thursday shows at a place called Peppercorn's Grill, which is right next to my house, with like acoustic guitars and stuff. And then people were coming to that, and we had people sitting in, and we moved to the Republic at the Linden, which is also in our neighborhood. And that was a bigger venue that could fit more people. We started having a lot of events there, and a lot of different musical acts came through. And so we had played a show at the riverfront for one of their summer things, and Tony Coos, who again now living in Indonesia, surfing and scuba diving and spearfishing, asked the president of the riverfront, like, how do we get down to that stage down by the water? Like, it seems like you're not using it a lot. It's pretty awesome. And they brainstormed and reached out to us. It's like, how do we take your first Thursday thing and turn it into something down here at the riverfront? And that was when it was like, oh, yeah, now it's going to be 3 stages and 20 acts, and you guys are going to have to write some grants. And to their credit, they've really rolled with a lot of this. That was sort of the origin story.
And it's a lot of CT. It's all CT local. That was like the big. We wanted to shine a spotlight on all the awesome bands in Connecticut. So, it's been pretty cool. I was there when they named it. We were sitting in, I think, Plan B Burger in West Hartford. Of course, before we got to Heartbeat, which was the obvious kind of choice, like we were just naming it a bunch of stupid things. Festivus, and like before you come to a real name, you have to go through 45 joke names, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And hope one of those joke names doesn't sit. To be honest with you, that's how we wound up with Shame Penguin. It was the joke name. And they're like, everyone's like, it's the best one we have.
Yeah. I love
pretty
it.
much our band name, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it kind of like a tongue-in-the-cheek thing?
Yeah. I think Craig is still angry every time someone says the Professors of Sweet Music, and I think it's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad I let off in the introduction for that. Thanks for the heads up, bud.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, somebody asked me, like, oh, so what's the name of your band? I'm like, well, kind of stupid, but here it is. I wasn't in the band when they came up with it. One thing about Heartbeat, though, is like
he does have it tattooed. He does have it tattooed on his back now, on his lower back. So I don't know what that's about.
Can I say that?
Nice. Yeah, you can say tramp stamp. That's fine.
Oh, but one of the things I wanted to say about like the Heartbeat thing, it's kind of like a reflection of, to a certain extent, like the band itself, because you know, all of us, but Earl especially, is such a great promoter of what's happening musically in our area. Like, hey, we're playing this thing at Bushnell, but we're gonna ask these guys. It'd be cool if we asked these guys to come up and jam on a couple songs, or what if we do this? So it's like it wasn't like this. It seemed like it was like an organic next step. Just on a bigger scale to what this band kind of already did. I mean, the reason why I ended up in the band in the first place was I got contacted by Earl. I was playing with this other band called Ishtik, me and my buddies, and he's like, do you guys want to, I have students that had you as a teacher. Do you want to play a show with us? I said, yeah, why not? And then just started sitting in with them and jamming, and it kind of, you know, came to that. And Earl says this, I think, a lot, but like, you know, we do it because we love to have people with us, but it also like, it pays off in dividends. Like this whole Heartbeat Festival is a, you know, perfect example of that, you know, just that all of these, and the thing is too, it's just the amazing amount of talent that is out there. It's untapped, unbelievable. And like, it's cool that this is a place where, you know, people could see that showcased all in one day. You know, it's, one of the things I'm most proud about of being in this band is just this kind of feel like I'm part of a scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I grew up outside of Hartford, and I'm like, I didn't know anything about any kind of music scene, and now here I am, like, approaching middle age. Finally, I'm part of the scene, man. You know, but it feels great.
He is the scene. He's on a coloring card right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I make the scene.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So my wife and I and our 12-year-old, we live in Hartford, and I grew up in Putnam, Connecticut, which is and I was like, when my wife was like, let's go look at a place in Hartford, I was like, why the hell would we do that? Right. So we ended up here, and I can't, it's really changed my life for the better to connect with so many cool people here. And just like Craig and Ben both said, that I think the real impetus behind this was we had played with so many musicians that we were like, oh my God, there's like, if we put all of this together in one spot, will thousands of people come? And if they do, now does everybody benefit? And that's exactly what happened. And to all of these musicians' credit, in year one, when I reached out to them, and I was like, River really doesn't have any money. We got this idea. Like, will you do it? We had just built so many relationships at that point that bands like One Time Weekend and Michael Sanford Day and they were all like, yeah, let's go. Balkan Brothers.
Right.
Like, let's go. Right. I mean, these are bands that headline shows, traveled through, major festivals into other countries. And they all came together to play at the riverfront, some of them playing at 11 or 12 in the afternoon, right? Just to fill out. I think we feel very fortunate to have a lot of people that were willing to do that. And, there's been a lot of awesome musicians. So Michael Manelli, who's out in LA, played at the freaking NBA All-Star game. Like a heartbeat, right? Like, just nuts.
The submissions grow every year too, astronomically.
Right.
It's further, it's really cool to be a part of that scene and to celebrate it. So I think that on that day, June 14th, it's really just about celebrating the live music in Connecticut with the real people in Connecticut. So,
well, see, that's one of the most interesting spots, for the people who are listening to the show beyond Connecticut. Connecticut is the scene that a lot of people gloss over because we're in between Boston and New York. And it's tough. Like, both of those are major market industries. Everyone's clamoring to get their show in New York and their show in at Boston. But there's so many incredible clubs out here in Connecticut, whether it be Scottish Dave's or Cherry Street or, Cafe 9 or Three Sheets. None of these clubs are paying me to say this. But, it's really super important that we start to really dig into those aspects of it because, that is what this music scene is. And right now, I've been saying this actually to our producer a lot. We are at a time where it seems like the iron is super, super hot to be from Connecticut. We just had hip hop producers win a couple Grammys, win a Grammy Award. The Breed just won a Grammy Award for their work that they did on the Chris Brown record. Plus, we have Cheshki, who's part of Co-Defendants. They're blowing up huge, being, working with Fat Mike and different stuff like that. And that's bringing a spotlight to Connecticut. And as that spotlight happens, we have these bands that are willing to stand up and stand forward. And you guys really seem on like the cusp of that because I really, I study your TikTok because I really love the engagement in which you guys do through there and the work that's on and how natural it all seems. Is this just we have a great time as a band and we wanted to show it to the rest of the world, or is this an image thing that you guys have really focused on?
I think pretty carefree, just
Nice.
being us. We definitely wouldn't do it for for the view.
Ben, speak for yourself. I have a very curated persona that I present to the rest of the world. I spent about an hour and a half today deciding what I was going to wear just for this. But no, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ben, but I think it's just one of those things where ultimately we do it for the love of playing and making music. That's really the only drive. And we just have, one of the things I say a lot is like, if I'd be ecstatic if I was jamming with people in the basement and that's all I got to do.
Right.
And all of this is just like way beyond anything I could ever hope to do. And it's because of these guys, you know what I mean? Right. And it's just, and we do it because we love to do it. And we, like Earl said, we have this great situation where we get along, we're buddies. And that's the other thing too, is like, in any other kind of aspect of life, I don't know that I would have ever had an opportunity to come across Ben or come across Dave in my daily life, let alone become good friends with them. What do we got? Like almost 10, 15 years that separated us in age, but like, like it's like there's this value to it. And, Earl's great at the promotions. Let's put it up there. We got this TikTok and Here's one of Dave about to get hit in the rear end with the 2x4, and that's got our most views. Yeah, or is it something like that? But
I want to give Ben a chance to finish up.
Sorry,
Ben. Because Craig and I are teachers, the stuff that we really find funny, we definitely cannot put up online at all. So we have to be, we're sort of like this generic mix of oldish sort of white guys playing music, and like it's a little bit of daddish humor, but like underneath it is a little bit of edge of stuff that we really find funny. I don't know. We just put up like you have to have content. I think it's sort of the TikTok thing is we find, no offense to TikTok, but we find that to be pretty stupid. We only have it. We're working with someone who was like, you guys should have a TikTok. I'm like, no, that's for my high school kids. And so, we tend to use Instagram and Facebook. We pulled ourselves off of Twitter actually, but I don't know. I mean, Ben, why don't you continue on with your thing?
Yeah. We have, for the past couple of years, we've had this kind of, I don't know, aesthetic image in our heads of awkward family photo. It's just like something that is so not cool that it is laughable and actually kind of cool, So when we try to make, and the thing is, we're in the modern era of music, so you can't really just do music.
Right.
You have to do some social media thing. There has to be some engagement on a kind of a, here's content of us not doing music. Here's content of us trying to be silly and funny. And, I think we embody that spirit of awkward family photo. Like, we'll get group chat texts from Earl like, hey, we need content. What are we going to do? And it's just a bunch of us just doing the stupidest thing we can.
Right.
And I like it that way. I think it's, we take the music serious in the way we do the music together as a band, but everything that's not the music, we don't really take seriously. And I think that kind of is a pretty lighthearted way to approach it. Because the social media stuff can burn you out. Everybody probably knows that. So you can't take it too serious. And when you don't take it too serious, it's just kind of fun. And I think that authentic kind of nature shines through a little bit.
It definitely does, and that's one of the key things. Like, if the people do follow your TikTok in particular, they will get a real sense of the vibe in which you guys do. And we're spending a whole bunch of time talking about social media because it is super important to the artists that are out there that are sitting at home trying to figure out what the next step is. Like Ben said, you can't just play music anymore. You got to create content. You got to have merch. You've got to have pins and bracelets and any other type of way you can figure out. I know. Penguins. Oh, we have stuffed penguins. We actually, we have emotional support penguins.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the way we're talking about the social media thing. I don't know what just mean, but it's like I feel like it's kind of what MTV was when it was. You know what I mean? And that like people, those old guard bands were sort of resistant to it, and then all of a sudden these guys that were up and coming like really jumped on it, and then saw what it was, and then you saw the old guard start coming in and making video, and like that dominated so much. And now that's gone the wayside, and it's social media is king now.
And that's one of the key things, because actually we've gotten into that aspect as per like making of the music videos. We make sure that every 15 seconds there's some sort of change that's going on the screen or something like that to continue to stimulate the viewer and the listener. So every 15 seconds there's that visual change, that visual sporadicness of it, and that's because our attention span is so super low now.
And you can chop up that video and put it all in 15-second increments.
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're heading into my. I mean, I can talk about some high school health and PE department, but I teach a lot of health classes where we talk a lot about the idea of attention span and social media. The whole thing. I find this really fascinating. But I think Ben said it perfectly. I think we try to just. We're like who we are, right? And we're sort of silly and stupid, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. And I find that appealing in other people, right? So like if I run into an artist who's talented, but that person is taking themselves way too seriously, I'm like, all right, cool, good luck to you. But I'm not necessarily going to spend all my time and energy working with them, shows with them, because that's not that much fun, right? Like we're here to have fun. Like we got jobs, we got families. Some of us, like, let's not get stupid, right? We're not worried about like who's opening and closing a show, and we're just going out and we're having fun together.
No, that's one of the key things, and I think that's a lot of artists, they start to take that like super serious. I've always looked at it, no matter where we are on the set, we're headlining. That's just the way that it goes, because you go out there and you want that crowd for that 45 minutes, and you no matter what, whether there be 2 people or 3,000 people there, you want them to walk away with some sort of memorable aspect of it from the performance, and
your moment is your moment. You're commanding the stage for that time, and then
exactly.
Amen. On WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Preston, with my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ BlueZ. POSSM.
Well done, Preston.
POSSM.
That's professional.
He's extremely professional.
POSSM.
Yeah.
How many people have butchered the name POSSM? I'm interested.
Yeah, all of them, including.
Okay, gotcha.
We actually went through a pretty controversial period called Commagate.
Man.
When we were promoting our band, we didn't really decide if we wanted Professors of Sweet, sweet music, or Professors of Sweet music, no comma. And it kind of led to just this like we had to come together and decide. I still don't know what the answer is.
I think the funniest part about all of it is, right, POSSM is like the shorthand version, right, to make it shorter. But every time we get introduced, Professors of Sweet Music, aka POSSM. So we've just like actually made it a lot longer. You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
I mean, listen, you get a former student teaches you guitar, and he's like, "What are we going to call ourselves?" And I think it's hilarious if people have to call us the Professors of Sweet Music, not thinking we would ever play a show or like right. And so the fact that we're around like 10 years later, everybody else is the one, they started shortening it to POSSM. And I fought it at first. I'm like, we're not POSSM. And then, of course, we became POSSM. So it's sort of just, all of this is hilarious that it still exists. We played on TV. Like, it's just, to me, this is like the best running joke that's ever happened.
It's the real rock and roll swindle right here.
But
that's as authentic as it gets.
Well, and that's the key of it all. Yes, you want to find that one punchline that you can continuously tell that joke over and over and again, and you see how that joke starts to filter out into the crowd and takes on a life of its own. And now you guys are sitting here, 10 years plus down the road, and it has taken on this life, and it has, really put you guys on television, and it's put you guys playing some shows with some incredible acts, and then of course doing this Heartbeat Festival. What's next for you guys, though? What's in the near, dear, or really far away future?
Well, we got music that we've been working on. We did a recording session at Parkville Studios in Hartford. Fantastic place. So we're trying to figure out how best to get those up to snuff and present them to the world in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of like the big thing that we have a good strong batch of new originals that we've been working on for maybe the last year or two, and we just want to make sure that the way we present them is the way that we feel they should be. We're excited about them, but we want to make sure they're ready to go so we can present them the way that we hope to. So that's. For me, at least, that's the big thing that we got going on. I don't know about guys, if there's something else you guys can think about.
Yeah. So I think so the new album, this will be our second full-length album. Mm-hmm. We're super excited about the songs. We feel like they're our strongest set of songs, without a doubt. And we were really fortunate when we put out our first album that won like the CTNow.com album of the year, one of the songs, one song of the year. And that sort of took us from like, that and then getting involved with Heartbeat. So there are some things that sort of like, people were like singing our songs with us at shows. It was freaking a weird thing. So that I think we're really excited about. I think one of the things as a band is, as you've been doing it for a little while and you make connections and you know people, is sort of like what you do and what you don't do, right? So we've learned over time to actually say no to things because I think bands tend to break up or they get really stressed by taking on too much. Or like this idea that like, all right, it has to look like this. The trajectory has to look like this. And now we all hate each other and we won't even talk to each other. And now we've broken up. So we I think may have gotten a little over our skis a couple of months ago when we agreed to do an East Coast tour. We came up with our manager who wanted to put us on tour from Boston down to Georgia. And we were like, let's go. And I got my surfboards ready. I love to surf down the East Coast. And we started getting these shows. We had the album, we had the Heartbeat Festival we were dealing with. And then some of the life situations in our band changed in terms of living situations. And so I think it turns out if we do any of the tour, it's going to be a small amount and it won't be what we were going to do. We just made that decision in the last couple of weeks. And I actually think we feel really good about backing off and being like, for what right now? Let's put out the album. Let's have fun at our shows, right? Let's get people set up. We care about the relationships. It's not about being able to say we played a show in North Carolina right now. Right. So I think sometimes I talked to Marissa about this. Trashing Violet. Marissa does her Rock Mommy blog. We've done some interviews about how much you do social media, how much, right? It's a balance. Sometimes saying yes to everything, while that seems great, can be a negative.
Yeah, no, Marisa is amazing, and her blog Rock Mommy is one of the best ones out there. We've been lucky enough to be covered in it as well, and really dives in deep when she goes through the whole thing. I love her interviews. I love what she does, and I love what she does in Trashing Violet because it's just a fun, great, like Riot Girl punk rock type of vibe. So I'm always gonna dig that. Plus she's got one of my favorite bass players in the entire world, Switchblade Doug Ang. And so that's dope. I'm also the only person that calls him Switchblade Doug Ang, but it's okay. I'm trying to get it to trend.
I'm gonna call him Switchblade from now on.
Yes.
Jump in on that. Do you want to jump in on what's sort of next, Ben, on your brain?
Yeah, one thing I would say is so I came from Colorado to Connecticut in 2017. So
he heard about this band, Professors of Sweet Sweet Music, and
I get that. I understand. The pilgrimage.
I ran. I didn't walk. But when we started, it was. I think we're trying. What's next is we're kind of expanding our the scope of our performance. I don't know, area. So we started playing in a neighborhood, it was just South downtown Hartford. And then it kind of expanded out to maybe like include West Hartford, maybe a little bit of Wethersfield, maybe up near Manchester or something like that. And then more years pass and it's like we're going down to New Haven now, or we've gone up to, Stores. And, there was always a moment in my head where it's like, we're gotta get out of Connecticut, and so that was a big kind of goal for me. And at some point we got out to like Rhode Island, and now we're doing Rhode Island again. And Earl loves to surf, like he said, and the beach is where he wants to play shows, which is a pretty good place to play shows, so I think we might try to expand that kind of area to play in the region, maybe up in Boston, maybe go down to New Jersey. It's kind of a cool thing to see that circle kind of expand. Your reach kind of goes a little further, and you get to meet, other great people out there. Just like we found in Connecticut with all these local bands, this amazing scene. There's amazing scenes everywhere almost, you just have to look. Certain places don't have the recognition as having a scene, but there is a scene there. There's a local scene there, and there's tight-knit communities. And when you get to know those people, it's pretty special. And you go farther with more people in your team. So to expand the network, to make friends. Like last night I was playing in Queens with the metal band, Queens, New York. And I ran into another band that I'd played with a year ago, and they're from Philly. And it's like just cool to talk shop with these bands across the country. And so I think what's next for us is to kind of widen that scope. The recordings are great. We kind of wanted to embrace the live aspect of recording this album. In a previous album, it was very kind of studio etiquette, like everybody's isolated, we're playing to the click track. We can go in and do, overtakes and or overdubs and whatnot. But we kind of felt like our strength is in that energy of the live show, right? When we're all in the same room, when we're all kind of right there, we can kind of see each other, feel each other, and rock. We can rock pretty hard. So that was the focus with this album, is to kind of get that essence in you know, in a CD or not a CD form, just in an album form.
In album form, CD form is fine to say.
Now,
CDs are still one of the top sellers in our industry right now, and it is the way that a lot of local bands are really being able to, monetize, is by making their own CDs and having those CDs to sell and different things like that. So it's still a viable market. Not a lot of people are driving around with CD players in their car anymore, but they want something to hold and to collect in those different type of aspects. Plus, with the new vinyl boom, that's really started to take off as well. And if you can find a great place to do duplication for vinyl, and the price is right, then you can do a good GoFundMe, or set up pre-orders, and get all that stuff squared away so you can finance the vinyls and different things like that. All different options in which we have now as musicians. And like, I love the industry right now because we don't depend on a major label anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're paying these costs up front to try to get our stuff out there, to get our stuff further moving out there, but no one's telling us we can't do it. No one's telling us that you shouldn't sing like that. It shouldn't be phrased in that type of way, and I think, we're starting to see a lot more freedom in that type of aspect of it. Now, as you guys are continuing to progress through and all that type of aspect, what is your favorite child as per your songs? What is your most favorite song, each individual person? Because I'm sure you all have different songs.
Oh, a quick story about the vinyl. So we got vinyl from Tony Coos decided we were going to order a crap ton of vinyl for our first album in 2018 or 19 or whatever it was. So we ordered a bunch of vinyl. He's like, everybody's going to want the vinyl. So we did sell a few vinyls, and then we had a whole bunch of leftover vinyl like sitting in our basement. So we started handing them out like St. Patrick's Day parades and whatnot. But about a month ago, I was on eBay. I don't know why. I ended up stumbling upon, but somebody has put our vinyl, and Tony made it cool. It looks like a wave. So when it goes around record player, it looks like a wave. Very cool. Somebody put our album up on eBay for $189.99.
That's amazing.
It's been sitting there. I've been tracking it for like a month. Clearly, nobody has bid on it. It still just keeps getting reposted. It's like Rexy's shop. So it's a Rexy's shop. I don't know how the hell you got a hold of our vinyl, or why you decided to put it up for $189. But good luck to you. Good luck to you, my friend.
What about a cassette tape?
Yeah.
That's Greg. Yeah.
That'd be
That
cool.
would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
$199.
Plus tax.
Plus tax will they always get you on the tax. It always, they always mess you over in drive through, and they always get you on the tax.
Fellas, favorite song. What do you got on the album?
Is it our own favorite songs?
Yeah, your own favorite song. What is your favorite child? I like to find that out.
Jeez. I don't know. I guess why can't I kind of like how this one tune Only Forever is coming out. It was a song that I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, demoed at my house. And everybody has their own kind of songwriting kind of approach. And like Earl will come to the band, hey, I got this idea, and he'll have kind of the song, him, voice and guitar, and try to articulate some ideas that we have. And then me, like, I'm the type of person where I open up a laptop and then I just start recording stuff, and I'm like, okay, drum loops, this, that, and I try to do like as much as I can myself, because for a long time it's just how it was. I was just making music by myself. I wanted to hear like a full song, so I'm going to do it myself. So that's kind of the process I developed. And so I had this song, and I had some words, and I don't sing in the band, but I'll sing on my demos and stuff. And then there was a part that was ready for a chorus, and I just couldn't wrap my head around the chorus. And Earl came by, and we came up with something that really worked. and then we bring it to the band, and then I'm I'm not like super precious about all the pieces or whatever that I create, because usually I have an idea, but like every time you bring it to the band, it elevates it because you've got the people who are great at what they do. And so Ben's drumming is awesome on it. Dave came and added like this awesome arpeggiated keyboards, and being like a real sucker for arpeggiated keyboards, it just like kind of makes the hairs in the back of my neck stand up. And when we all lock in and it's solid, and like the harmonies that Earl and Alyssa are doing, especially like in the chorus and everything, it's just I'm proud of how that one is coming out. So that's for me. That's pretty much it for me.
That was super solid. It's like such an energy burner for me. It's just like, and I love that. Like, I love the idea of like giving it your all on a song, and just like, I play like 16th notes on the hi-hat the whole time. And then there's this bridge, which is like, just like explode. And it's like, every time I'm like, I got to take a deep breath before we start that song. Cause it's like, you're going to need to, because you got endurance to hold on to. And then, of course, Earl programs Wash Over Me, which is always right after it. So I always play like the two
marathon
most energy demanding songs for me back to back. But that's like my segue is to kind of say, yeah, Wash Over Me is one of my current favorites. I have a few and I'll mention them, but Wash Over Me is just this driving energy. And Craig kind of showed me the War on Drugs when earlier when I was in the band, and I just liked this kind of like what's the word, motorrhythmic approach to the drumming, where it's like just one idea, but it's just so solid, and it's just the whole time, and so I kind of wanted to just do that. Like, I didn't want to make a fancy drum beat that changed all the time. It was just like, just play like
and that was like in the back of my mind when I was coming up with that. Like, I'm such like a sucker for like, oh, this is what Craig must have been listening to when he wrote this song, because he pretty much just ripped it off, But like that's kind of like War on Drugs. I was in that headspace when I was doing that song. So
yeah,
well,
that was just great.
They say it all the time. Good artists steal, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Right.
And try to steal as much as humanly possible. And that goes from everything. I remember listening to Keith Richards' biography, and he was, talking about how many times they had to settle rights for different songs because, Mick Jagger had heard the melody on the radio and took the melody into the recording studio. And now that Katie Lang is now a co-writer to, a Rolling Stones song. So that it kind of happens. That's what our industry is. But there's only but so many notes that are out there in the world. There's only but so many chords that can be played. So obviously the only thing that we have original is our point of view. Now we haven't gotten all of our answers yet, Earl.
Yeah. So I really like this group of originals in this album. I really like a lot of them, but I guess one of the songs, the song that I wrote that I'm most excited about on this album is called Oil and Wine. It's sort of a weird change of pace. I depending upon whatever I'm listening to at the moment, my original songs come out sounding much different. There might be like a weird sort of like upbeat reggae song, or there might be a little bit of funk to it, or just sort of like a Mumford and Sons, or it just depends on what I'm listening to. This one has sort of like a real sparse sort of verse, and I sort of picture it as like a really bass-led, open sort of, and then it builds, and the chorus we really have to figure out. I love what Ben does on the drums. He understood immediately when I brought the song to the band. I think the band was like, what the hell is happening right now? This is like this super chaotic. But Ben got it, and once Ben got it, it laid the foundation for everybody else to understand the song. And then Craig, I remember playing it for Craig at one point, and then he was like, it'd be great at the end is this sort of long, extended fish style jam that sort of builds, and that's become, so we go through the song that's sort of like sparse verse that's sort of like funky into this like rock chorus and a crazy rock bridge, and then the whole song breaks down, and we just go on this long extended jam that starts slow and ends ridiculously fast. And I really enjoy the way that came out. And again, to Craig's point, I have an idea of something, right? I come up with it, I bring it to the band, and then it turns into something else. And that's really exciting. And it's really exciting to see that happen. And it ends up being on an album. That's a really cool, it's a really cool thing. Right?
Plus, our friends, the Bat Pack, love to rap on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Love those guys.
Yeah, local like super group of hip hop artists.
Yep.
They took to this. So they actually renamed it. They call it home. They don't even
Yeah.
call it the name we call it. And they freestyle over it often.
Mhm.
It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. No, those are great guys. We've had Clockwise on the show a couple of times. Such an incredible human being.
Yep.
We've been honored to play a couple of shows with Clockwise, and his energy is just, it's next level, and it's great to be in the same room and sit and talk with him. I love having him on the show because he can talk your ear off and then some, which is great. But enough about other people. Let's talk about POSSM.
On WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven.
So smooth. So as you guys are evolving and as you guys are moving forward in all those different type of aspects, and I feel like I've said that like 1900 times, but it's okay. I like to repeat myself. Yeah, that works. It works. It's a good segue. You know, where are you guys focused more on right now? And you know, what is it like going and being a band that plays, you know, in the studio, dealing with the click track and making sure everything's on perfect timing, to playing live where literally everything and anything can fall apart? You know, so what is that like?
I like to embrace the chaos. You know, like one of the happiest things live when we're playing is when something goes wrong. It's like, all right, now we get a chance to do something incredibly stupid or incredibly epic, you know, and sometimes it's dumb. Sometimes it really translates into something like sometimes Craig's guitar will malfunction and just this chaos of his pedals comes through, and it just is the right time, the right energy for that room. I am all for the just chaos and just like expect the unexpected, you know.
Right.
I like to think of myself as taking a jazz approach to my drumming, where it's like I don't play the same thing the same way every time, except wash over me. But you know, I love to just feel what's happening in that room and then go with it. So sometimes a soft song turns into a heavy song. Sometimes a heavy song can turn into a soft song if the energy in the room is right, you know. So yeah, and jamming has become a part of I think the aesthetic of our band, and so we can open up sections, and like Earl's saying on Oil and Wine, there's a big jam outro at the end where we slowly increase the tempo, and it's not metronomic or anything. It's just like sometimes I'll go from really slow to really fast, and sometimes it's like medium to like medium fast, you know, and I just whatever it's feeling. But yeah, embrace the chaos.
Embrace the chaos, and deal with the temperature of the room. I love that. I hope people are taking notes. You know, that's what we hope for, is these people that are listening right now and, you know, starting out on their journeys as musicians, taking these notes and learning from us so that next level is even better. So, you know, in 10 years, Heartbeat Festival is even larger than it was before, all because, you know, people are listening and paying attention now. And that's what we hope for. But we only got one answer. We got two other people.
I'll go. I mean, I as much as it's cool to like you know, kind of make things in the studio, for me, like the playing live is really kind of where it's at for me. And it's, you know, because it's such like this communal experience that you're having with these people, and this aspect of communication that has little to do with anything but the sounds that you're making on your instruments and responding to what each other are doing. And then, you know, I think those moments where you just feel like everybody, and you, including yourself, you just feel like you're hitting it all cylinders. It's just like an exhilarating feeling, you know. We've been fortunate to play the Hartford Marathon, I don't know, for many years now, at the finish line, and it's always fun. But for some reason this past year that we did, at least for me, like we all sounded awesome, and I just felt so good about everything about it. And it was like, wow, like it was like, that's awesome, or like, just even if we're in, like I said, back into the basement, if we're in the basement and we're just, playing, and Brian and our bass player and Ben start doing just like a little something while we're getting worked up. And then I just kind of slide in and find my place. And it's, we're maybe doing it for like 2 minutes, but it's like this, like 2 minutes of like this synergy that it just feels as comfortable as wrapping yourself in a blanket or something. I don't know how to explain it, but you're just creating this thing out of nothing. And
Right.
the sound, it's almost like selfish, right?
Yeah, of
When
course.
people say that kind of stuff is self-indulgent, it is. Music is,
Yeah.
because you're indulging whatever it is that you're creating, and it's just like, it makes you do it because it makes you feel good.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the live performance is where it's at for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. So to answer your question, I mean, I think I have no idea what's next, right? Like that's what sort of makes it exciting and interesting. You sort of keep doing it. I would have never thought we would have still been going. But like a couple weeks ago, we got to do the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Yep.
We're on a float. Our buddies pulling us. Hydro 860s up there, freestyling and hyping up the crowd. Our singer Alyssa, who was joined the band last year, is an incredible vocalist. So it's sort of added another layer, to something we didn't have before. Like she is an uncommonly good singer beyond just like a local band having a singer. Like she can do stuff, that we could not do before. And so that's pretty cool. But yeah, like Nadia, who's going to come on later, she was on the float with us, and Lee Totten was on the float with us, and DJ Late Night was on the float with us, and a whole bunch of people marching with us, handing out the Heartbeat cards. First of all, Heartbeat, June 14th. The lineup is amazing. 3 stages of music from noon to 9 p.m. There's going to be an after party at Arch Street Tavern. And one of the things we got at the Arch Street Tavern is a live band karaoke. So there's going to be a band there that's going to play. People from anywhere can just jump up and start singing songs. You don't have to be an artist. Like just come hang out with the artists. And anyways, so the whole thing is about community. And so I want to have new experiences and meet new people. And so I think, having a new album, being a part of Heartbeat, eventually passing Heartbeat on, right? Like I don't know, over Heartbeat forever. This is hopefully something that continues with other people taking the reins and sort of, as long as I feel like they have the right community vibe to it, and they want to have a diversity of sounds that represents the area we're in, and is prioritizing bringing in people who are sort of like community people, right? I want people there who are willing to look out for each other, share each other's music, jump on stage with each other, interview each other, right? That whole vibe is important. And so I think we're really proud of being involved in the Hartford music community.
You should be super proud. Unfortunately, though, we do have the Apollo curtain starting to be pulled on us. Our producer's like, "Hey, bud, you're starting to run a little long." But we wanted to actually give this time to you guys, promote everything you need. How can people invest more in POSSM, in what you guys are doing, and the Heartbeat Festival? Obviously, June 14th, we'll see everybody there. Everybody. We want to actually make Hartford so heavy it sinks a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Earl, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Plug it away.
so we are at the POSSM, POSSM on Instagram, and you find us on Facebook. Apparently, you're the one person who's checked out our TikTok, so we are on TikTok as well.
Eighth graders keep telling me they see.
Frank's 8th graders love our TikTok. The new album will be out. You'll be able to see us. We got a bunch of shows coming up starting with April 11th. We're at Almost Famous Brewing. We got some shows at Gas Show Park here in Hartford and New Park Brewing. We're going out to Talcott Mountain Collective. We've got some Heartbeat pre-shows with a bunch of bands who aren't going to be playing in the Heartbeat lineup this year, but they're going to get a chance to get together and play us sort of under the Heartbeat umbrella. Obviously, Heartbeat June 14th. So we'll be all over the place. We'll be posting our spring, summer schedule at some point. But you can find us online. Come say hi at a show. We're pretty friendly guys. Don't be scared of the gray and the beard. We love to have some fun and meet new people.
Songs out there to stream too, if you are so and YouTube, we got stuff there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is awesome on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City, Maine, Mr. EZ BlueZ. POSSM. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Thank you
you.
for having us. Thank you. It was awesome.
Absolutely. You can come back any time. We appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.
What are you guys doing at noon? Just kidding.
Never knew what I was looking for. When she came walking through that door, she came and took that empty seat. She came and sat across from me. Time with her in the fall. Didn't know how I felt at all. I wish that she could only see that I wanted her to be with me. Hey guys, it's original 2, call her.